Let us go right into the video. No need to do some foreplaying. The entire basis used to scale SCP, or rather the extended canon part, is heavily flawed. Now, why would I say that the scaling method is flawed when sites like the well-known wiki called Versus Battle has a page explaining how to scale SCP? Well, simply the basis of the extended canon, which Battle defines to be similar to an composite page regarding extended canon, wouldn't work the same way it would with other verses. That reason being because of the nature that is the SCP wiki has. The SCP wiki itself states that they have multiple canon that tend to touch into one another, with that happening because of the SCP wiki being under the Creative Commons license and not because every author decided to be chill with their creation being used in another person's SCP story. Now, I'm sure many do not know what the Creative Commons license is, but essentially that is the copyright that allows SCP writer to use other writers' SCP in their own story without having copyright problems. Now, how is this relevant of the extended canon of SCP being flawed? It is quite simple actually. Unlike franchises like Dragon Ball, Sonic, The Legend of Zelda, Godzilla and more, these verses are controlled by one main entity who decides how things shall be when they create games, comics or movies, but SCP is different here. SCP has countless writers, each and one of them capable of creating their own canon that they own in the end, not like with Dragon Ball, for example, who is owned by Shueisha and Toei Animation, with Akira Toriyama having just died recently. Those two essentially own the franchise and can decide what shall happen or not in it, but no one owns the collective work of SCP. Every SCP story is first owned by the writer that wrote that specific story, an anomaly, with the community being allowed to use those stories and anomaly into their own canon, but there is the part one using it their own canon and everything not being a collective canon. There are multiple canon, but each canon actively contradicts one another because, as mentioned, each SCP is written by someone else, and that means everything can be different. For example, SCP 3812 shows there being an infinite hierarchy of RF, however, that is only canon to SCP 3812 and Chkakshus verse, the writer of that anomaly, and his canon. I do recognize that the page states they are subject to PSI and outliers, however there is a difference between outliers and actively cherry picking what to use and what to ignore. At the same time, even if the page stated to ignore contradictions, that would be playing favorite with something that in all honesty doesn't make sense to scale as a collective canon. The question is then, how should people scale SCP's extended canon? One does it the same way one would do with other franchises, going by the word of the authors who confirm to share a canon. Look at collab tales and other such things. Simply putting all SCP in one place isn't scaling as much, it is just wanting to wank a franchise by any means possible, that by all means doesn't work because of the countless contradictions. This is my take regarding the SCP scaling and why the extended canon isn't any good. I have a video in mind regarding the Chinese SCP and why it isn't as strong as people believe it is, but that is a future video. We see us at a different video then, and have a nice day.